I know last time I talked about, or one of the last videos, I talked about Rugrats, and I just realized I actually also, aside from Susie, who was all kinds of black girl magic, I also really liked Kimmy. Kimmy was adorable, she was adventurous, she was kind of like Tommy, but a female version of Tommy, but very, very cool and just very awesome. And the fact that she was young, I'm pretty sure her family was Japanese, supposed to be Japanese originally, I'm not sure. But the fact that she was a beautiful, awesome little Asian baby girl who was now a third culture kid, because I'm pretty sure her family, from what I remember, like had left Tokyo, yes, I think it was Tokyo, left Tokyo and came to the US, and so she was now growing up outside of her culture, outside of her parents' culture, outside of her mother's culture, and was now going to be growing up in the US. And I just really connected with that, probably because I am a third culture kid as well. But she was just awesome. She was just like all kinds of awesome, and she had like no chill. She was really like very vocal, I believe, from what I remember, and she was really cool, which is oddly enough and sadly enough not really a representation of Asian women that we see a lot today, unfortunately. But she was awesome. I loved her. She was so good. So yeah. Hey, it's Tessé, the Black TCK, and today I want to talk with y'all about self-love, self-hate, and internalized anti-blackness. Now, hear me out, okay? Because there seems to be a whole lot of deliberation and confusion as to whether black people can be anti-black. Like very often online I find myself either in a conversation which I try to avoid because trolls are a nuisance, but sometimes in a conversation or seeing someone comment, someone with a black person avatar, so they may not be black because digital blackface is real. People use black avatars and then claim to be black and say nonsense behind them. But someone, let's just assume for the sake of argument that the person is black, and then the person says something very anti-black and very anti-black in their comment, and then when you call the person out on it, they're like, well, no, like I'm a black person, it's okay, like it's fine, I can say this. And I'm like, no, it's not fine. Why do you think this? This is wrong. Like, I can't, like, basically the person implies and insinuates that they cannot be anti-black because they're black. And that is a falsehood. That is wrong. That is a lie. And the reason for that is that we live in a society that is anti-black, and anti-blackness is everywhere, and it is in everyone. We are, like, everyone is exposed to it, and everyone, like, whether it's in the media, whether it's in school, whether it's in anything and everything, honestly. And so for you to really go through life, like, not ever, like, subconsciously believing or accepting like a belief that is anti-black is a little unreasonable to expect, I feel like, at this point. But to explain this more, and just to like say that can black people be anti-black, to answer this more, I feel like if we talk about the ideas of self-love, self-hate, and internalized anti-blackness, because they're all really interconnected. So let's start with self-love. So what exactly is self-love? It's the idea of being able to radically love yourself and all aspects of your identity and the stuff that make you who you are, regardless of the aspects of your identity's relationship to the norm or accepted standard or the ideal of society. So when there is that standard, there's that ideal or that norm, that thing that is the norm. If you deviate in any way from that, then you may have encountered, or you may encounter ideas or perceptions or beliefs about your identity, or like that aspect of your identity, and how it is not normal, or how it's not accepted, or how it's not acceptable, right? And so if you are someone that has self-love and is able to like love yourself despite its relationship, love and embrace and accept all aspects of your identity despite the way your identity relates to the standard of society, then that is self-love, right? And so the opposite of that is self-hate, where you internalize and embrace and subconsciously or consciously, but it's usually subconsciously, I assume and I expect, that you internalize and accept the false ideals or false beliefs around aspects of your identity that may not necessarily be in line with expected standard of society. So basically, self-hate and self-love, they work they work together. And I don't think that anyone is like in a perfect place of self-love, and I don't think anyone is a perfect place of self-hate either, or complete place of self-hate either. But it definitely takes on a different look when you look at how your identity and how you feel about your identity and how your feelings about your identity is influenced strongly by the society that we live in. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time like looking at the whole like radical self-love movement, which was really popular at the time. I knew that Gala Darling, blogger, and I thought that it was a really good idea, but to me it seemed very superficial in a lot of ways. Like it seemed to want to, don't feel bad because the magazines say you don't look like this girl on the magazine, and so therefore you should be different. Just do you, or whatever. That seems to be the idea behind it. This doesn't really seem to recognize the fact that some people have a whole lot more in their way to being the ideal and the standard, and that fact that is something that a lot of people face. And so recognizing and accepting that is the case, and recognizing that there is a standard out there in society and how it varies for different people, I feel like it's important that people are able to recognize that, so that they can truly work against the wrong messaging out there and the bad messaging out there that tells them that who they are as they are is not good enough. That it's a lot more than just being like, oh, just ignore everything that exists out there and just pretend like everything is perfect and living in La La Land and I am just beautiful and wonderful and perfect. It's a lot more than that, right? It's like you have to recognize, oh, this ideal exists, and this is why this ideal exists. And because this ideal exists, I need to recognize that I don't have to fit into the ideal. And when you look at the idea of self-hate and the fact that, and particularly with self-hate with regards to Black people and anti-Blackness, we live in an anti-Black society. It's inevitable that in one way or another incorporated or started to believe or have believed in the past some limited ideas, some wrong ideas about Black people that are hurtful and anti-Black. And because of that, it has led to a lot of problems in our community, but also a lot of problems with regards to certain members of the community, certain Black people, speaking out and saying things very publicly that are anti-Black. And so there are a lot of people that come to mind when you see this, like poster children really for Coombs. And I think of people like Stacey Dash lately. Oh my gosh, I think we tried to leave Raven-Symoné in 2015, the last I checked. I'm pretty sure Trey Melvin said something about that on his blog, so I feel on his YouTube channel, so I feel like we left Raven-Symoné in 2015, but I know in 2015 she was causing a whole lot of a ruckus. And Don Lemon, of course, who irritates me deeply. But speaking of a ruckus, the perfect example of a self-hating, of someone who struggles with internalized anti-Blackness, who is a Black person, is a man called Uncle Ruckus on the show Boondocks. Like, if you haven't watched Boondocks, you are in for an amazing ride, basically. It's this great show, and it centers around some Black kids and their grandpa. And basically there's this man in the show, his name is Uncle Ruckus, and he is the stereotypical self-hating Black person, but like taken to level 100. Basically, like, he's the grand poobah of self-hate, and it's just interesting to see and sad at the same time, really, because he hates his Blackness so much, and he desires to distance himself from his Blackness so much, right? Because that is something that often happens with people who have internalized anti-Blackness. Or internalized self-hatred, try to distance themselves from that aspect of the identity, or they hate people who have that identity in common with them. So he does both, right? He hates all Black people as a Black man, as a dark-skinned Black man, but he also has this belief or this idea that he is not actually a Black man. He is a white man who is suffering from a skin condition that makes him appear to be Black. reverse vitiligo, I think is what he called it. So that was a thing. But it's sad and interesting as well because it is a commentary on some, unfortunately, some people who deal with anti-blackness, and yeah, and who are like very proud. Some of them are actually very proud and loud about it, and cause us all pain and facepalm moments. So that's it for this video. I really want to hear what you have to say, or what you think about internalized anti-blackness and self-love and self-hate. I think that self-love in general could be a great thing, especially if you look at all the things that come into play basically when someone is dealing with self-hate, right? I think it could be really great. For example, the natural hair movement is a great example of self-love tailored to the Black community. It is, like, while not perfect, has been very helpful for a lot of Black women to come to accept their Afro-textured hair, to accept our Afro-textured hair. So that's it for this video. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to continue the conversation and talk more with me, follow me on all my social media. I am everywhere at the Black TCK. If you want to find out more about what I'll be talking about this month, download some pretty cool stuff, then you should check out my blog, which is Controlly Yours, at theblackTCK.com. I know, right? Hella simple. So, I love you all so much. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, there are links in the description box for this video with like links to a lot of really cool articles, so y'all should definitely check that out. But until next time, stay great, stay slaying, and stay woke. Bye.